So welcome back to another video here in Pennsylvania. And this scene back here should look familiar. In our most recent video on the Union Canal, we're going north along what's called the Branch Canal, and we made our way up into Swatara State Park. Because back behind us are the awesome ruins of lock number 6 on the Branch Canal. Right in the area now is where the big dam was. There's another beautiful view of those locks. Of course, locks 6, 7, 8, and 9 were down that way. Because you can see in the most recent video I made just how big these locks were. That's a beautiful shot with the sun shining through. Of course, I mentioned in that video too that in 1862 there was a big flood, and the dam here, which we'll look a little bit more at in this video, went down that way to the creek, was breached. Of course, this Branch Canal was completed around 1830, 1832-ish. Only lasted then for about 30 years, like until 1862. So this whole area was underwater back here. The towpath trail is actually up there. This was all a big lake, as far as you can see here. And for this installment of the series, which I think is actually video number 32, 32 videos in a whole series so far, baby, we're going to continue on through Swatara State Park, try to follow the towpath trail as best as possible. I think I followed a little bit of this in the past, but I don't think I realized it was a towpath trail way back then. But we'll talk about that in a moment. But I'm not sure how far we'll get today. Maybe a couple miles. Of course, we're on public land here, so I can explore to my heart's content. Might just look a little bit more around the dam area too before we head off. I'll show you a map in a little bit. But let's get to exploring. It's a beautiful day. It's going to be almost about 45 degrees today. Almost no wind, beautiful sunshine, so good winter day. Today's January 15th, I believe. So here is a map of the park, and we are right here. Locks 9, 8, 7, and 6 are right up here. Right here was the dam across the creek. Because this whole area back here, this is all a lake all the way up here. You can see the creek, but this is all underwater. Roughly about to the 500 foot contour mark there. More like 480. I was checking Google Maps. But then the towpath, they still needed a towpath trail. The mules will still towed the boats, through the lake too. Would have stayed roughly at this, just below this 500 foot contour level right here. This is all lake over here. And right about here, the boats were ferried across the lake to this side of the creek. But we'll save that for a section for another day. So I'm not sure how much we'll do, if we'll just go to here or if we'll go all the way over. So we'll see. But there's no rush. We can take our time exploring. Like I said, this is public land, so I can come back here as many times as I want to. Alright, but in a moment we'll get on with it, get exploring. But just another beautiful view of those locks. Yeah, maybe I should set the camera down again, give you another perspective shot of just how big that is. Yeah, so just another cool shot. But like I said, in a bit we'll make our way back up there. I believe that's the towpath trail up there. The top there, because this would have been the top of the lake level. We would be underwater back in, 1830s, 1840s. I do want to walk down this way because the dam continued down this way. I just want to walk down here a little bit. I know last video we were up top, but I'm going to just go down to the bottom. Explore here a little bit. Looks like they made a little trail down here almost. Looks like someone drove down here. But you can see there's the top of the dam. And it would have stayed that height all the way over to the other side, but you can see it all got washed away. It was just an earthen dam. So there was a lot of rain in 1862, some floods, and just washed it away. Of course, once the water starts pouring over the dam, it just washes it away. And it pretty much ruined, this section, the Branch Canal. It was never rebuilt or repaired, just kind of let it go. And down here is the Swatara Creek. Alright, so here we are at the top of lock number 6. Because the dam went that way. And the towpath trail would have been on the lake edge going this way. You gotta remember, like, this was all lake in here. And the purpose was also to bring water to the mainline canal. I think we talked about that in the last video. Sometimes this branch canal is also called the feeder canal as a way of supplying water to the mainline canal. We talked about how some sections of the mainline canal had issues with water leakage and stuff like that. We can see this is also used by the water company. Got our blue pipe there. So I believe this is another situation where the water company is used the towpath trail as a place to bury their water line. I know we saw that in the previous video where they used the towpath trail in the actual canal at different locations to put the water line in, which kind of makes sense in some ways. So I'm assuming that's what happened here. I know I explored this section years ago, just a little bit ways down, and I thought it was an old road, but then I saw the water line. I thought maybe the water company actually made this old, what I thought was a road, but this, I believe, is the towpath trail. Maybe slightly modified because of the water company, but I could be wrong. But the towpath trail would be on the edge of this lake, so it does make sense that this is what it was. So let's go exploring. There's the main trail. So we're gonna stick down here. So like I said, years ago I followed this for a bit. Remember, this is all a lake down there. More that way is the actual creek then. And it does, another reason I think it's a towpath trail, because it follows that roughly that 480-foot contour line pretty consistently. So the mules would be walking along here, towing the canal boats that were in the lake. So there's not going to be an actual canal here, because it was a lake. We won't see our familiar ditch feature in this section at all. Alright, let's see what we can find out here today. I am going to be going into some areas where I've never been before in this park. But you can see clearly how this is man-made. I mean, there's a steep drop-off, and then there's a flat, and then the steep hillside continues. So they carved this out. And like I said, that other path I showed you, that is the road that's up there. So this is most definitely the towpath trail, I would say. Once again, maybe slightly modified, since they buried a water pipeline in here too. Just imagine all that being lake out there. It also looks like there's a bit of a canal feature out there, but I'm not sure what that is. No, it shows up on Google Maps, so maybe it was. Like, it almost does look like that's not what you're seeing down there is not the creek, Swatara Creek. It almost looks like a canal. Anyway, maybe it kind of was at one point. I don't know. Who knows what in stages they built all this. Anyway, just looks like one a little bit. Yeah, I'm just walking along thinking out loud to myself here, but I wonder if that, like I said, that's not the Swatara Creek, it's actually back that way. But I wonder if that was a former channel for it. I wonder if before the flood, or before the alterations to the gap there, I wonder if this was the creek bed, and maybe from the flooding it formed a new creek bed further over that way. You know, that's a possibility too. Creeks do that sometimes. Anyway, it just crossed my mind. It's a possibility. But I remember from looking at another map of the park, the towpath trail was definitely up here. I'm also curious to see if there will be any remnants of foundations along the edge of this trail, this towpath trail. I don't think there are in this area. Like I said, years ago, I hiked this section, but further down, I haven't. So I'd imagine that if there's a lake here and all that, they might have some buildings like along the edge. Just like I said, thinking out loud a little bit. Oops. We'll see. We'll keep our eyes open, where we always do, for those kinds of things. I mean, regardless of whether or not you're into Union Canal history or want to walk a towpath trail, this is a nice trail to walk along. The other trail that they call Bear Hole Trail, it used to be Old State Road, it is just up there. So you could do kind of like a loop, hike the main trail, come back on this one or something like that. It is kind of nice down here. Walking through the rhododendrons and the hemlocks. Got a little bit of traffic noise. That's Interstate 81. But I think a little bit later in this video that will quiet down as interstate veers away from the park here, or at least our section of it. But the creek is just down below us now. That is the Swatara Creek down there now, across from the rhododendrons. Of course, once again, as we walk along here, you gotta remember that this was all lake over here. This is all underwater. This is kind of the edge of a lake right here. Anybody need an old fridge? This is an oldie. Yeah, right up there is what was the old road. So that's the way it was back in the day. People just dump their stuff down the side of the road. Yeah, looks, I don't know, maybe it's not a, looks like a fridge. Anyway, we'll keep going. I think that's been there for quite a while. So here's the path we've been following that the water company made. There are sections where there's a little bit of hills, like it drops down that way a little bit. And I noticed something down there. And going back this way, it looks like it went downhill a little bit. But I think down here, it almost looks like there's, make our way down here first. This looks almost like there's a raised element down here. I don't know. And this looks man-made right here. Almost like this could be the towpath trail coming through here, going on through. Kind of see it there. I wonder if there's times where the water company line doesn't follow the original towpath trail. Like this looks like this could be it right here. So it drops steeply off to where the lake would be. Oh, looks like something interesting down there. So I think that's what's going on here at times. So what's this? There's a very distinct straight line down here. Oh, look at their path. Whoops. This looks like an old path right here too. That's interesting. It's definitely man-made through here. Alright. Yeah, not entirely sure about what's going on here. I mean, up there is the water company path. This looks very towpath-ish, but there's a path here too. So, I mean, like I said, this ended use back in 1862. Well over, that's almost, well, a long time ago. So a lot of changes would have occurred in this area over that time. But then the water company trail comes back to join the same level as the rest of this. So even if we stay on the water company path, I believe it follows roughly, even if it's not always following the towpath, the original towpath trail is following it roughly. Because then this one just kind of ends. Alright, so we'll probably make our way over there again. little bit easier walking up there too. So there's looking back the way we came. You can see the trail the water company line made. And had just been exploring a little bit down that way, but now look up here. This looks like the towpath trail here now. See this raised element, they would travel along here. I mean, unless this was made by the water company line but this looks very towpath-like. To me at least. But we'll see. Well, you know, like our water company line still follows it roughly. You know, the reality is that some of this is just guesswork. There are no signs out here saying, you know, towpath trail. This is all kind of uncleared land back here. But this looks very towpath-ish right here. And I guess we would be in the lake. That's what I'm thinking. So like I said, I think sometimes the water company line is using the towpath trail and sometimes it's not. Whatever was easiest for them to follow. This is definitely a raised element right here, continuing on. Once again, here's what I'm seeing. Definitely see this raised ridge going that way. It just continues on. Alright. So I don't know how well it's just going to show up on camera, but this is the water company line again. But right there, that line right there was the towpath trail I believe I was following. And you can see how the water company line cuts right across it and goes uphill. The towpath trail never went uphill. It always stayed a level line. So the towpath trail would continue through that way. Okay, so this is pretty cool up here, at least to me. I remember seeing this on Google Maps, like the terrain feature. Oh, there's a deer stand right there. You can see, I'm following the towpath trail. You can see how it goes across right there, this raised area. It kind of drops down below on either side. The lake would have been over here, where the canal boats would have been. So they had to bridge this little low-lying area. And that's the towpath trail right through there. That's kind of cool. Yeah, if you look at maybe I'll throw that up, a map, Google Maps showing this feature right here. I think there's several others up this way. Yeah, the water company line kept going way up that way, so I decided to follow the original towpath trail, which I'm glad I did. Phew. Right, I'll take you across then. I know it's just a raised area to some, but it's kind of cool to see these original features still here after all this time. You know, this is kind of an undeveloped state park, but I really think they're missing out on some opportunities. I mean, we are following the towpath trail, but it would be, I think they should have an actual, like, established trail on the towpath trail that follows it all the way through the park and have like those little historical markers and signs along the way telling you about the history of the canal. I think they're really dropping a ball and stuff like that. I know that takes time and money and people to actually do it, but I wouldn't mind making a trail along here. But anyway, I don't work for the Park Service, so I think there's going to be several other of those like raised areas up here. And you notice we don't really hear the traffic so much anymore. We're kind of bended away from it. But even along here you can see how they stacked stone along the edge of the towpath trail on a nice little line there. Which is what we're still following here. So at times it gets hard to follow the path. I was kind of heading up that way, but then I looked over here. You can kind of see it going right through there. It's kind of raised up from either side once again. Yeah, definitely. Here it is again. You can see the stone lighting up on the side again. Yeah, you can still see just going on throughout that way, and even looking back you can see all the stonework on the side from where we came from. So I am having a great time out here. I should mention, earlier in the video I mentioned I had traveled part of this, but for a while now I've been in a section here that I've never been in. I've never explored back here and walked along this. Actually, this section is actually really cool. Let me turn you around. Yeah, this whole area here is kind of raised up. Never knew this was back here. I've been to this park so many times, explored so many areas, but not this area. Of course, it is a bit overgrown. Some sections, we'll have to make our way around it, I guess. All right. Yeah, so Swatara State Park people, you definitely need to make a trail that follows the towpath trail all the way through the park. Like I said, I would volunteer my time to do this, something like that. Anyway, I'd probably make videos of the process too, but anyway. But I'm not really sure how that works. Alright, let's keep going. Like I said, at some point here, the canal went across the lake. The boats would have been taken across or ferried across, and the mules probably too, to the other side. So I'm not sure how much further we have to go yet to get to that point. Actually, if you're familiar with the park, about halfway through the park there's that new bridge they put in years ago. That's roughly to where we're headed. Then I'll take the main trail back to where I parked. Yeah, and here's another clearly defined spot where it's just raised up from the surrounding area to keep it level. Because it drops off. There's like a little valley that they had to take the towpath trail across here. And it probably also acted like a dam in some ways, because remember on our left was the lake. So let's get around here. So there was a lake over here, and the lake water would have come right up to the edge of the towpath, but they didn't necessarily want the lake continuing off this direction, so this acted like a little mini dam too, I would guess, as well as the towpath. Here we are walking off just the edge of it slightly. You can kind of clearly see the edge of the towpath trail. It's just quite a bit overgrown in some sections. So like I said, I'm just loving this. I find this to be super awesome. I mean, the path is so distinct through this area. You can see that raised element to it. This was more than what I was expecting. Like I thought I might be following that water line path the whole time. Wasn't sure. But this is really cool. Especially sections like this, just to see it so distinctly. And so well preserved too. Like I said, definitely need an official trail along here. I mean, it's beautiful back here too. Why not have one? Nature and history all in one trail. And you can see a little ditch on the side, but they used this ditch. That's where they got this dirt from. Remember, over here is the lake, but then they dug the ditch out to make the towpath here. I mean, once again, you can just see how amazingly distinct the path is here. Of course, you see how it just drops off. Remember, that's where the lake was down there. And to me, this is beautiful. I know some people it's just woods and a raised element, but to me, it's beautiful. Then we come to other places where I have no idea where the towpath trail is, to be honest. Yeah. So I'm not sure exactly where we are, if we're getting close to that point where the, you know, it was the canal would have gone across the lake. Not sure, I don't really see a trail anywhere anymore. Alright, so just checking Google Maps, probably a little bit glare on the phone, but we are getting close. The bridge that goes across is right up here. So this, somewhere around here is where the, remember this is all, oops, this is all lake in here. So somewhere around here the canal went across to this side, and there's a ferry house up here somewhere. So we might get getting close to that spot where the towpath would actually end over here, because the canal, the boats would actually go across the lake. So I'll look around a little bit more here for towpath trail on this side. But if not, I think it kind of means our canal, some point here, went across the lake. Because I think right now I'm down where the lake was. But we'll keep exploring around here a little bit more yet. Because I gotta make my way to that bridge yet. So might as well just keep looking. Because I would like to find a spot on this side where the ferry, you know, would stop. I feel like there would be remains of some buildings there probably, or something like that. I don't know. I still head up this way, look around some more. We're gonna keep making our way that way though. Well, I've been wandering around for quite some time. You know, still making my way that way, but kind of weaving around. But I mean, maybe this is a raised element there. That could be the towpath, but like I said, we might also be in the section where it actually goes across the creek. Haven't really seen anything super distinctive. Sometimes your eyes just keep playing tricks on you. You think you're seeing what you want to see sometimes. All right, but I'm gonna guess that we're in that section, like I said, where somewhere around here the canal boats and the mules were ferried across the lake to the other side. All right, so at this point now, I'm just looking to hook up with the trail that goes down to that bridge. Just not seeing anything anymore. It looks like a towpath. Because even when you're going across the gullies, remember how the towpath trail stays level, so it has that raised element. I've crossed a number of gullies, walked up and down, and saw no evidence of any kind of a raised towpath trail crossing them. So I think, indeed, is what has happened. You know, right here's where it's crossing the lake. All right. Not just actually, I mean, now I see some stones up there. All right, but like I said, I'm always seeing things. I'm looking, you know, you're always seeing things that look like it could be something. But anyway, yeah, this is what just caught my eye there a moment ago. Definitely not natural, but not sure what it was, why it's out here. All right, let's find that trail to the bridge. I could also just hoof it up that way too to find the, well, we'll see. We'll just keep going this way. I don't want to miss anything in case something is back here. Alright, so I think this is what I'm looking for. I think they call this sand siding trail. Yeah, right there's the bridge across the creek. And this takes you back to what they call Bear Hole Trail. There's the water company line coming down through this way. Let's just take a quick walk down to the bridge, show you where the canal came across, because like I said, it came across somewhere around this way, and I'll show you where we'll start the next video. And there's a ferry house up this way somewhere too. We're gonna look for the remains of that in the next video. Yeah, so somewhere out that way, because remember this, once again, this is a lake out here. There's a big dam, where we started out, the big dam. We were coming up in the woods towards this way. So somewhere out there is where the canal boats were brought across, and probably the mules as well, by ferry, across here somewhere. And then up that way somewhere on the other side of the creek, it was a ferry house that operated that ferry, and then the canal continued along this side of the creek, heading that way. That's a nice shot out there. But like I said, that was fun. We actually covered quite a bit of ground, just considering that just a lot of it was like a bushwhack through the woods. I enjoy doing that, if you haven't noticed. Yeah, so this will be the end of this section then. When you start the next section, like I said, we'll start on the other side of the creek. Look for anything remaining of the ferry house, and follow the canal on that side. Looks like from looking at the maps, there might be some cool remains on that side. And we'll start seeing once again the actual canal ditch too. My only regret is not getting like an exact GPS location of where the towpath trail stopped on this side. I would have liked to have noted that location, looked around a little bit. But I think that section was really overgrown and I walked away from it for a bit. So, but anyway, it's no big deal. Alright, but I still think a trail following the towpath through the park would be a great idea. Alright, but I'm gonna end the video now. I'm just gonna walk back along like what they call Bear Hole Trail back to the parking lot by the other bridge. Alright, as always folks, thanks for coming along, and hopefully we'll see you on the next one.